Welcome in to a Memorial Day edition of the Jordy Culotta Show. Let's start right there. A great big salute to all the veterans and everybody who makes waking up and doing this show possible. For everybody that has served this country and serving right now, a great big thank you from the Jordy Culotta Show, and happy Memorial Day to everyone. Let's not forget why we celebrate this holiday, as it is for the men and women that fight to keep our freedom alive here. Happy Memorial Day to everybody out there. We appreciate you for starting your day here with us. We will be in and out here on this Monday, as there's a lot to get to and some things to look forward to. No guests, even though we got a full house here with, or Katie's at the beach. We're missing Katie, but we've got, I believe she's in Sandestin. I think so.
We think. We asked the same question.
Yes.
Everyone I know is in Grand Isle. Place to be.
Really?
Ooh, have you ever been to Grand Isle Beach?
Yes. Sneaky good.
Sneaky good. Sand is a little. The sand is bizarre. It like rips your feet up. It's like a little gritty.
It's got the shells in it, right? Little cut up shells.
Yeah.
Still makes it tough. Don't worry.
It's not the Tarpon Rodeo this weekend, is it?
Oh, I don't know.
Why is everybody in Grand Isle? Just to celebrate
parents have like beach or camps.
Okay. Have you been to the Tarpon Rodeo?
No, what's that?
Your first summer in South Louisiana, if you can squeeze the Tarpon Rodeo into it, you might write a book, young Jack.
The tarp?
Tarpon Rodeo. It's just it's a sport fish.
It's an excuse.
Yes, that's exactly right. It's a sport fishing tournament.
I'm getting what you're putting down now.
Yes. But right around your age is usually the golden age of it to experience it.
And it's in Grand Isle?
It's in Grand Isle, I believe, right?
I mean, think so. Yeah,
it's all, on the coast.
The chat will let us know if we're wrong.
Jack is here. Noah is here. Lizzie is here. Lloyd is here. Lots to react to from the weekend. Paul Mainieri obviously making the announcement on Friday going into the weekend that he is stepping down from his post as LSU head baseball coach once the season goes final. Is it over? We'll see. 11 o'clock this morning will be the field of 64, or the rest of the field after the 16 regional sites were announced yesterday. We'll catch you up on all of that. NBA playoff basketball moving into a couple of closeout game scenarios, so we'll catch you up on some of the latest on that. Chris Paul and the Phoenix Suns take command of the Los Angeles Lakers series.
Did you hear the quote from Paul? They wanted to sit him, and he said, hell no.
How about what he did last night? And I'm usually not the biggest Chris Paul fan, but if he can get past LeBron, AD, and the Lakers in this series, to me, this would be his biggest career accomplishment.
Well, he's known for kind of his playoff failings more than his success. He's obviously been a great regular season player, and then something always happens to him in the playoffs, whether it be injury or a collapse or something like that. So this would be, how many times it's happened is amazing.
It's amazing.
And it happened again this year, it feels like a little bit.
That he got hurt game one.
Yeah, man. I mean, the shoulder's obviously limited.
Yeah. I mean, until last night, you're thinking it's the same thing again.
Same old story. Yeah. I mean, and really, if you dig into it, some of the just the freaky, the hamstring. I mean, going back to the Rockets series, Oklahoma City, the Los Angeles Clippers in those back-to-back seasons where he broke his wrist. I mean, just some of the playoff injuries.
And it's always playoffs. He does fine in the regular season, gets through all 82, it seems, and then right when the playoffs hit, right when you need him the most, like that Houston series. What's the point? That Houston series is the one you're going to think of forever if he doesn't get out. This one could probably rewrite his legacy a little bit.
Beat the Warriors.
If he could beat the Lakers.
Well, in that Houston series, they go against that awful Cavs team. So whoever wins that Game 7 was going to win the championship. That would have been his one ring.
That was his ring. Yeah, that was his ring. So we'll talk about the NBA playoffs coming up here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Obviously, who could be next for LSU baseball? We'll talk about that as the Tigers possibly getting ready for postseason play. As we said, they'll find out at 11 o'clock this morning if they are in or not. We talked to Skip Bertman last week, and hopefully you have found that conversation. If not, you can do it on our YouTube station, Jordy Culotta Show, where he talks about when LSU is in this position, how powerful of a brand the Tigers baseball program is, and how that goes to be an advantage for LSU when you're talking about some of the decision makers, the selection committee, understanding that there needs to be tickets sold and that this thing is a television show and LSU is going to be a draw. They are literally on the fence, though. When you talk about the teams that are straddling the fence and trying to get into the fields of 64. LSU is one of the last teams that they have going in here. And my good friend Glenn West over at SI.com, who covers LSU, has got a great write-up over the last 18 hours in which he posted that, where he points out both D1 Baseball and Baseball America have LSU in their field of 64. D1 Baseball has LSU as the 3 seed in Ruston, while Baseball America has them as the 3 seed in Southern Mississippi's Hattiesburg Regional. So 2 very centrally located to Baton Rouge and 2 easy travel spots. When I saw the 16 regional sites be announced and saw that there was one in South Bend, Indiana, in Notre Dame, I really thought that was going to be the one that Mainieri was going to be sent to, because I also believe that in true Mainieri fashion, that he was chunking a Hail Mary on Friday afternoon and making that announcement going into the weekend. And in just saying to the selection committee, like, not only do you get LSU, not only do you get the name brand, you get the name on the front of the jersey and the purple and the gold and all the fan base that comes with it, but now you get me on what could potentially be
a farewell tour.
Does he still have
and you
the
send
magic?
him back to where it all, essentially where it all started.
No, easy that production meeting would be.
Yes, you got the Notre Dame aspect of it, and then you have so many camera shots that makes it so easy for the production team to just pan to the dugout, pan to the dugout.
Come on, ESPN.
Touchdown Jesus, the game's still going on, it's in the 5th inning, you don't even know what's happened yet. Perfect.
Make it happen.
When I first saw that South Bend and Notre Dame was one of the regional host sites, I kind of thought to myself, that's where they're going to send them. Because, I mean, if you look around, Austin, Texas is getting one. I mean, that's an easy travel spot for LSU to get to. Columbia, South Carolina, out of the SEC. By the way, the SEC dominated 7 of the 16 regional host sites announced on Sunday afternoon. Go to the Southeastern Conference. First one is Columbia, South Carolina, Austin, Texas, Eugene, Oregon, Fayetteville, Arkansas. Arkansas might be the top overall seed as they defeated Tennessee in the SEC championship game and rolled through the conference tournament. TCU, Jim Schlossnagle, whose name has been tossed around as a potential candidate for LSU. Gainesville, Florida, Kevin O'Sullivan seems like he's the leader when you talk about some of the names that are being discussed as the next guy to follow up Paul Mainieri at LSU. So Florida gets one. Greenville, North Carolina, with East Carolina, another one in Cliff Godwin, whose name continues to be brought up. Godwin spent some time with LSU. He also spent some time with Mike Bianco in Oxford. Greenville, North Carolina, and East Carolina has one, as we said. Knoxville, Tennessee. University of Tennessee, the Volunteers, who Arkansas defeated in the championship game.
Is he not the belle of the ball for this job? My God, he's been the hottest name that everybody wants, just because Tennessee's obviously good and they're hot at the right time. But I like the idea. I like the idea just because it's such a change from what we've had with the old guard at LSU baseball. It seems like something young and fresh would kind of spark up the Tigers again a little bit.
So you're talking about Tony Vitello,
yes,
who is seems like he is the popular choice.
Yes.
Amongst the fan base. He is younger. I believe he's 42 years old. He has turned Tennessee baseball into a winner. I mean, what was a program that was a doormat for many years and thought of, when I asked Skip last week specifically when he first took the job and really started to establish the dominance of LSU and his power began to leak into the conference and into the sport, did he anticipate seeing what was the ultimate vision, seeing teams and programs like Tennessee, Kentucky be competitive in baseball? And ultimately he said yes. I mean, that was the vision. I mean, more for Ron Polk at Mississippi State, it was about building Mississippi State baseball. When Skip got to LSU, after he developed LSU into the power, it was more of developing the sport. And to see teams like Tennessee, I think, kind of is one of those vines from the Skip Bertman oak tree that is college baseball that he sits on in college baseball. And Vitello is the guy. And with Texas A&M opening up on Wednesday and LSU opening up on Friday, it seems like Tennessee is going to have to make a play at him pretty quick to keep him sturdy in Knoxville, because he is a very popular name atop of many lists of openings in college baseball. And A&M's got the money. LSU's got the cachet of the position. They'll pay as well. And
Tennessee just got a new athletic director, so that has to be like the top of his list to make sure. Yeah, no, this is his big break. Dude.
He will by Wednesday.
Oh yeah,
dude, he's turned it around quickly. First year at Tennessee, 29-27. 2019, 40-21. 2020, 15-2, and now this year, 45-16. So it really took him 1 year to get the ship right at Tennessee. But I think if you're a new AD at Tennessee and you just made a hire of a football coach that not everybody is really, I don't know how excited they are about bringing in the UCF staff. This is something that you almost have to do. You kind of have to throw the bank at it because it's kind of your only winner right now.
Yeah, and look, it's a name that a lot of people are talking about, and as I said, seems like he is the leader when you ask just popular opinion who you want. People talk more about Vitello. The first name seems to be Kevin O'Sullivan. O'Sullivan's name is being discussed, and when you talk to baseball people, like I've gone and asked baseball minds that I trust much more than I trust in my own opinion, and a lot of the opinion that I give you, or a lot of the thoughts that I give you, are based on some of the opinions that I get from the baseball minds that I talk to, and specifically talking to Skip Bertman. He said that Kevin O'Sullivan is the best pitching coach in the country. And I think when you talk about the game of baseball, if you're dominant in the pitching area, you're going to have a good team.
Look at Vanderbilt.
Right? I mean, and look at what O'Sullivan has done at Florida over the years and being able to retain and recruit arms and keep them there when they've been drafted as high as first-round guys. I mean, for whatever. He's become like the Nick Saban of college baseball, where you've got first-round picks. Najee Harris saying, I'll go back to school. You've got guys, Patrick Surtain saying, I'll go back to school. You've got guys,
Dylan Moses even. Yeah. Dylan Moses to his own detriment.
Devonta Smith.
Yes.
I mean, they have guys year in, year out that go back to school where you say, why would they go back?
They love to learn.
Right?
Yeah. At higher education, you got to get that degree.
I want a minor in everything.
Get that G-Series Charger.
Yeah, exactly. The upgrade.
Yeah, right.
And then it's so funny, like, we noticed that mostly because it was at a time when LSU couldn't retain anybody. People were leaving.
Well, you had 7th-round picks leaving, undrafted guys leaving.
And then you look at Alabama and you got people that would have been top, 3-round picks staying. And it's like, well, how can we get our hands on something like that?
Well, O'Sullivan had that same type of culture and has that same type of culture at the University of Florida. As we said, Gainesville is one of the host sites this year. Florida back as a top 16 seed. They have been a national champion. Obviously, they beat LSU as a national champion.
Did you see his interview?
After the game when he was asked about it?
Very low hat. Very, it seemed like there's been
conversation.
Talks, yes.
And he wants out of Gainesville because of some stuff that is happening off the field. And the stuff off the field is easy to find, and I'm not going to dive into it, but it is dark. And it is real dark. And from LSU's standpoint, they are looking not only for winners on the field, they're looking for PR wins as well. I mean, I think we all know that. I think Scott Woodward has politically addressed and admitted that they are looking for good stories and good vibes. I mean, that Kim Mulkey press conference, what else do you need to see? I mean, they had fire cannons going off when she was walking out. You know what I mean? I mean, it was
like we just won a national championship.
It was a circus.
We know how to put on the show.
Yeah, I mean, really and truly. I mean, it was
a WWE production.
It was incredible.
Masks were in the air.
Look at us.
Yeah.
We are doing good things. We have good people. I mean, just they are looking for not only on the field and on the floor winners, they are looking for PR wins in this next regime. These new faces that come in and represent LSU athletics in the institution. So, O'Sullivan's name is definitely at the top of the list. The money people around the LSU baseball program, when they look at O'Sullivan, they look at what he's accomplished on the field and what he's done in recruiting and retaining a roster and developing pitchers. He checks all those boxes. But off the field, he's got some stuff that's brewing and that is happening and that has happened over in Gainesville that is tough to dismiss. And when you're trying to make sure that you not only make a solid hire from someone that can run the program, and you want good stories around that, this would be a little a bit of a gamble.
And do you think people aren't as it would seem like in a normal year, O'Sullivan would be like the guy that everybody would want. Because he's been at the top of the list for so long and there's been so much smoke around his name. Do you think that's why people aren't as interested in hiring and more interested in like a Vitello or something like that? Just because it seems like it's been the consensus pick. It's almost like the NFL draft. Whenever you have a guy that's number one, obviously, and then you just start picking them apart because you have so much time to do so. Mm-hmm. That's what it feels like with O'Sullivan, because by all accounts, that would be a home run hire, you would imagine, off the field stuff withstanding.
Yes, I think there is a little bit of that where you almost want to develop another candidate because this one seems so solid.
Right.
Right. But by all accounts and by everybody that I've spoke to, it seems like this is O'Sullivan's job. I mean, it really does. I mean, barring some type of late negotiating tactics or turns, I think that LSU is trying to come to terms with O'Sullivan's side, because as much as LSU wants to make a solid hire and needs to run what potentially is the best job in the sport, it seems like O'Sullivan is trying to get the hell out of Gainesville as fast as possible. You know what I mean? I think he wants out for as much as LSU wants to make the right hire. And the discussions, while they have been, I think that they've been talking for a while. I don't think that this is, popped up since Mainieri announced his retirement on Friday. I think that they've been in discussions for a couple of weeks, maybe even months. But now that it's time to do it, I think you really do break the microscope out.
Right.
And for O'Sullivan, off the field, right now is not good.
That PR stuff scares me. For the love of God, that's the one thing we can't mess up.
Yeah, that's out there.
An endless list.
Oh, but that's what I'm saying. If we had just if Paul Mainieri has announced this Friday and then we say breaking O'Sullivan first candidate and it's the first thing we'd heard about it, I feel like the fans would be much more excited than they are right now.
Possibly. And I think when you announce him that there will be a buzz around it. I don't think that there's going to be if and when that is announced. I'm not saying that is imminent and that is potentially on the horizon. If you were asking me who I believe the next guy is, I am pulling for the Italian, for Tony Vitello.
Mm-hmm. Little homage.
But it feels like it's O'Sullivan.
Right.
I mean, it feels like it's his job to turn down. And
I mean, that presser said it all, dude.
Honestly,
he had the hat low. He had the sunglasses
and I'm not saying it's been out there from people that have been talking. I mean, I came in here 3 weeks ago and said that I think Kevin O'Sullivan is about to get the LSU baseball job just because of the people that I was talking to, and they were telling me that deal's as good as signed, deal's as good as done, and I believe that even in the 11th hour that there's some stuff to overcome, but I think that you're not learning that stuff now from the LSU side. It might be just coming out publicly in Baton Rouge because his name has been talked about so much. If you just do a simple Google search on Kevin O'Sullivan, I mean, it's easy to find some of the mess that he's caught up in off the field, and it is it's terrible. There's no other way to describe it, to paint it, to try and characterize what he's gone through and what he's created off the field. So we'll see. I think it is O'Sullivan. I think that once you hear a name so much and it being floated around a job so much of the time, it just seems where there's a ton of smoke that there's fire behind it. And O'Sullivan seems like potentially he could be the leader going in. Patrick Kimmery says, can you expand on the O'Sullivan off the field stuff? I would just say this. It's an extramarital affair that turned out to be tragic. And once you dive into it, and like I said, I mean, I don't want to get into the details of it because I may mistakenly place somebody in a spot where they weren't in the real story. I just know that it was an extramarital affair that turned tragic is the best way that I can describe it. And from there, I would just point you toward a Google search where there is
the articles are written.
The Orlando Sentinel. I mean, people with journalism credentials have dug into the story, found the facts, provided names, dates, times, and information, and it's not good. We will continue to watch that story. 11 o'clock this morning is when the field of 64, the rest of the field of 64. Let me go through the rest of the host sites as we left off, obviously in Knoxville, Tennessee, talking about Tony Vitello and him being a major candidate for this LSU job. So I mean, we've gone down 8 of the sites, and we've already talked about 3 candidates on LSU's list. When you talk about Gainesville, Florida being a host site and Kevin O'Sullivan being there, and Knoxville, Tennessee being a host site with Tony Vitello being Tennessee's head coach, and then Cliff Godwin being East Carolina's head coach, is Greensboro, North Carolina will play host as one of the 16 sites as well. So once you get out of Knoxville, then you go to Lubbock, Texas. Texas Tech is hosting Nashville, Tennessee, and Vanderbilt obviously being a host site. Oxford, Mississippi, and Mike Bianco being a host site with Ole Miss. Ruston, Louisiana, and Louisiana Tech. Shout out to the Bulldogs and that program up there at Louisiana Tech is at 40-17. The Bulldogs are a host site, one of 16 in college baseball, and Ruston getting the nod from the selection committee as one of the top 16 seeds, and will be hosting this weekend. South Bend, Indiana, as we said, Notre Dame will be a host site in the Midwest. That is, if you're looking for a television storyline or a promotional storyline that executives were looking to push this week, sending Paul Mainieri to his last job that he spent so much time and obviously means so much to him, would obviously play well through the television. That could be a storyline to watch if LSU's able to sneak in at the last part of this thing.
And they do the seeding just because of, like, regionally, like they would send somebody, like they would send a team from Louisiana to South Bend.
Sure.
Is it just seeding, or is it just wherever they kind of want to put you?
Well, I think, I mean, there is consideration for all of, for everything when you're talking about the selection committee. But, I mean, we've seen many times 3 seeds here. I mean, wasn't Stony Brook a 3 seed? Mm-hmm. I mean, they came down from Long Island. I mean, they will send teams, Coastal came down. I mean, it just, there will be teams geographically that may not make a lot of sense.
That's what I was wondering.
But I think that all consideration being made, sending LSU to Notre Dame would not throw up any type of red flags for anybody. I mean, I think that would make a lot of sense, not only from a television and a promotional standpoint, but just even I think that Mainieri would probably be all in on that. Mainieri's looking just to get in at this point.
Yeah, it'd be a great story. I mean, like you said, the book writes itself.
Exactly. I mean, there's just not, I mean, the creativity's sitting right there in front of us. I mean, how creative do we want to be?
Right.
You know what I mean? So Ruston, Louisiana, South Bend, Indiana, Stanford, California. Stanford will be a host site. Then Starkville, Mississippi. The dude is going to get a regional site. And then Arizona. Tucson, Arizona will be the 16th host site. And as we said, the rest of the team of 64, the rest of the field of 64 will be unveiled today at 11 o'clock on ESPN. And LSU will be waiting and watching to see what happens there as Paul Mainieri on his retirement tour, as he announced that on Friday. How surprised were you by the announcement? For as much as we've been talking about leading up to it this year, I don't think that a lot of people were announced or were surprised by Mainieri stepping away. Like we said last week, and like we've been talking about going in to this part of the season, Mainieri just looks like the game is beating him up. He looks like the process is not as enjoyable as it once was. And I've always referenced the Roy Williams interview and press conference that with 48 hours after North Carolina's basketball season came to an end, the Tar Heels were bounced out of the first round of the NCAA tournament for the first time under Williams' leadership. And 3 years ago, John Rothstein from CBS Sports went up to Roy Williams's, or went down, I should say. Rothstein, who's based out of New York City, went down to North Carolina, to the University of North Carolina, and went to the campus in Chapel Hill and sat with Roy Williams. And one of the things that Roy Williams was most proud of during that sit-down interview was that under his watch, under his leadership, they had nobody that had transferred up to that point. That was one of his big selling point that he was taking back to the recruiting trail, and he was telling moms, and he was telling decision makers, and he was telling future recruits that once you get here, you're going to be in a very stable environment. Nobody's wanted to leave, and we have a very sturdy program. Well, last year, 2 years ago, North Carolina led the country as the team with the most names in the transfer portal. And last year, or not last year, about 3 months ago, after Roy Williams in North Carolina's season came to a halt, he sat down in front of national news cameras, coast-to-coast news being represented, and said, I'm just not the guy for the job anymore. I've had a great career. Coached at Kansas for a long time, been at North Carolina for 18 years, won 3 national championships, seen it all. Coached Michael Jordan, been to the Olympics, did it all. I'm now at a certain age where I just want to sit back and enjoy that because I can't keep up. I don't understand the recruiting enough. I don't like the transfer portal. I don't like the communication that you have to have with certain phases and levels of teams, of decision makers just to get to one player. Okay. That makes sense. And if you're a supporter of that program, how can't what you probably already have an immense amount of respect for, that even go higher for a guy that's looking out for the betterment of the program? And I thought what Paul Mainieri did on Friday was very similar, felt very much in the same realm. And for my part, somebody who I respect very much in Mainieri and his approach to the game, it went up. I thought him admitting that there will be days of him probably regretting this decision was very human of him. Can't we all sit there and relate to that? Something that you've stepped away from, or maybe decided that, I'm not in it anymore. But knowing that there's going to be days, even by making that decision, that you're probably going to say, damn, why did I choose to do that? Whether it's a relationship, a job, or anything that means a lot to you, from Paul Mainieri to sit there and say, hey, look, just over the last couple of years, my health has deteriorated. I've lost my dad. I've not just been able to give everything that I have to the game. I'm not able to throw BP. I'm not able to hit every fungo. And for a guy like Paul Mainieri, that means something. That means a lot. And if you can't do it, it takes away a part of the job. It takes away a feeling around the job. I thought his admittance to that on Friday was very graceful. It was very elegant. His emotions was very much expected. I thought he demanded the room and deserved every minute of that announcement. And I thought he handled it with class, professionalism, and will be always around LSU baseball. I mean, he is going to be almost now the face with Skip sitting behind the net watching the game as if overseeing the program of what it potentially will turn into over the next 10 to 12 years. And salute to Paul Mainieri, really and truly.
It was a great video they did.
Great tribute. Fantastic 15 years. We can debate whether he overachieved or underachieved at a later date. But right now, what's going on is they need to get into the tournament at 11 a.m. If they can do that, it would be fun to watch this thing go out with a fun ride and remember some of the cool times of Mainieri's leadership. And I thought that he won the exit press conference. I really did. I mean, not that there is a win and loss category there that means anything, but I think it'll be lasting images of Paul Mainieri being very transparent, being very honest, being very open and relatable to the fan base, to the people that cover him, to his friends, his family, administrators, everybody that was in that room, former players, Former players under Skip Burtman were in that room. Former players under Paul Mainieri were in that room. And I thought it was a beautiful moment for the LSU baseball program, because that could go either way, especially if those are your feelings. Like, I may regret this. You know what I mean? Like, that could be a very awkward moment or time where you just not only you can't even really describe what I'm trying to say. Like, I want to leave, but I don't want to give it up.
Not only that, it's for somebody that's been, I would say, highly criticized throughout his career, for him to go out on a high note in terms of, like, he probably turned a lot of people
the wrong way.
Like, yeah, he had some people that just didn't really. There weren't a lot of Paul Mainieri fans. You know, you could say that he was always very highly criticized. He probably turned a lot of people on toward him again. You know, he probably, like you said, won the press conference. He got some people back in his corner.
I agree with that. No, I think you're probably right. I mean, it was a very...
It's just the best way he could have handled it so gracefully.
It was a very human moment.
Yes.
I mean, as a human being sitting there watching that, I think, 100% of us could have related to at least something that he said. You know, I mean, maybe not everything, but at least sitting there, you can say, hey, I don't know anything about baseball, but I've regretted leaving a relationship that I look back and thought, man, I should have stayed. Or, staying at a job that I wish I'd have left. I mean, just vice versa, and him expressing those feelings in that moment in what is a job that I compared to last week is probably like dancing with a bear. You know what I mean? Just trying to wrestle and dance with a bear of, let me just keep in control and not get overpowered.
There's something every day.
Yeah, and it's
what you would say, like,
every day.
Would you say yes?
I mean, it's 365 days a year.
Yeah.
You want to take your son to the Cubs game and go experience Wrigley Field at the end of the summer, somebody there is going to say, hey, coach, what the Tigers going to be like next year? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You're always LSU's coach. And that same guy is going to probably say, I'll expect to see you in Omaha. Not knowing that just is a little bit of pressure on Mainieri when he gets back on the plane from Chicago.
Vacation,
you know what
brother.
I mean? Like, bro, I'm just trying to 9 innings with my kid.
Trying to catch a dog.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would compare it to almost like the New York Yankees in baseball, like where it's always pressure. There's always some feeling
World Series or bust.
Yes, it's always College World Series or bust. And when you get to Omaha, you better win the thing.
Yeah. Kentucky basketball, Alabama football, Yankees, Cowboys, big brands. Things that come with pressure.
But yeah, I just don't think a lot of people realize that outside of the state, that there's pressure in those college baseball jobs like that, because LSU is fanatical about it, and I don't think a lot of places really around the country have that. So this is a huge deal for not only our state, but the next hire. For sure.
Salute to Paul Mainieri. Shout out to Go Chevrolet, GEAUX Chevrolet.com. Remember, Go Chevrolet. Open and operating today. Great Memorial Day specials that you can find in Laplace, Louisiana, or on the corner of Florida and Sherwood from our friends at Go Chevrolet. Stop in and see them online, GEAUX Chevrolet.com. Go Express Auto Sales is also a new used car lot right here in Baton Rouge that you can stop in and shop your inventory there. So shout out to Go Chevrolet here. They're open today. Stop in and see them. So there's the thoughts on LSU baseball. I think they get in. I think they get in by the skin of their teeth. I think that a good, easy story from a creativity standpoint would be sending the Tigers and Paul Mainieri up to South Bend, Indiana, which is a host site. As far as the geographical things that make sense, I think Louisiana Tech, like I said, I believe D1 baseball has LSU going to Ruston, and Baseball America has them as the 3rd seed going to Hattiesburg. I've heard Hattiesburg, I've heard Ruston, I've heard Austin as 3 geographical spots that make sense. But as far as, the heartstrings, they'll pull on you in South Bend, Indiana to see LSU up there with Paul Mainieri. So I think they get in. I think that they're in the field of 64, and ultimately I think they're at one of those sites. If it's close, they'll probably go to Ruston. If they send them outside of the state, I see South Bend, Indiana, as possibly being the play there. So LSU baseball awaiting the word at 11 a.m. this morning.
You think they're doing the watch party? You think they're all gathered together?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis has gone Anthony Davis for the Los Angeles
You get
Lakers.
all of him.
Every time you get Anthony Davis and you have expectation around him, he seems to let you down. He has done that to LeBron and the Lakers here after Game 4 last night. Was that Game 4?
Game 4.
Last night.
Game 4.
Where the Phoenix Suns look to have taken a series command here if Anthony Davis cannot go, and that is going to be Chris Paul. If Chris Paul is going to play like that, where last night Paul gives you 18 points, 9 assists, and 0 turnovers as the primary ball handler of that game.
Oh, you got to love that as a
he
coach.
had that game. He had the ball in his hand. 48 minutes of that game, he probably had the ball in his hand for 26 minutes of it.
And he makes the game-deciding steal at the end, too. Like, that pretty much put it
away. Big shot at the end. There were thoughts of holding Paul out of that game, which I got to be honest, going into game 2, I was in favor of. I thought if he's this hurt, I mean, I think that the Lakers were like a 7.5-point favorite in that game. Take the L, get him right. He ended up telling the trainers, I'm going. I'm playing playoffs, everything that's happened to him.
Stigma.
Put him on the floor. Yeah, beat the stigma. And last night to lose Anthony Davis, if you're the Los Angeles Lakers, and to get a game like they got from Chris Paul and Phoenix get the win last night. Now, I know that the NBA series are game to game and you can lose momentum in a half, but it feels like the Suns are now in the driver's seat here. I mean, it really does. I mean, Anthony Davis, if nothing, he looks like you don't know because him and LeBron are the two biggest fakers I've ever seen in the history of the league.
Dude, it makes LeBron look not as bad. Honestly, Anthony Davis, every time he goes down in a heap. There's arms and legs everywhere.
He falls like a giraffe.
Yes, and it looks like a wounded animal going down. You're like, well, I'd imagine he's hurt the way he just fell. That he gets up and he kind of limps around and then he's full go again. But this one seems to be actually serious in terms of just like a freak injury, which they all seem to be with Anthony Davis. He's not in control of all of his body.
No. Well, I mean, just if you're an athlete, you land on your feet. That's what I tell my son all the time. He goes up for layups and he comes down and he lands on his knees to like get a whistle. And I'm like,
that's a lot of what I think he's trying to do too. And LeBron.
Bro, first off, once a referee sees you flop one time, you're not going to get the call. You're not going to get the call. And if you're really an athlete, like if you're athletic, athletes don't play on the floor. They don't play wallowing around on the wood. Like, keep your feet. And Anthony Davis, for as athletic, I'm not going to make an athletic joke about a first overall pick in the NBA draft and a 7-footer that can run rim to rim, catch, bounce, shoot, do a skill set that people would just
die for.
I mean, it would make you just drop your jaw if you saw Anthony Davis running up and down the floor just in a one-on-one workout. But to see as much as he plays on the floor, it's almost like, bro, you're an athlete. Get up.
He forgets it. It's like he turns it on and off. It's like if he doesn't get a call, he just goes down in a heap. It ends up hurting him more than it does helping him. And what you say, like this series is kind of. Do you think this has turned the series back? Because I would say,
the pendulum's been swinging.
Yes, in Game 3 when you had LeBron backing down Jay Crowder, and you had the
Drummond,
whole bench going crazy.
Yeah.
You would think that, like, dude, this is it. The Lakers are about to put a nail in the coffin.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, this thing can swing very fast because
it swung back
72 hours ago, I thought the Lakers were about to blow them out.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought they were going to boat race them. And now it feels like they are playing catch-up. I mean, LeBron's got to be super LeBron
Warriors
every
style.
Single minute. Yes, Cavs, Warriors, 18. He's got to turn into Superman for them to have a chance if Anthony Davis is not going to dress out. If Anthony Davis is going to dress out and be 70%, okay, they maybe can go. But it looks like he's hurt. That's the toughest thing to do about these guys is really judge on an injury because they're always limping. They're always on the floor.
He was doubtful for that game too because of a quad bruise.
See, and it's these kind of injuries that he gets that's more frustrating than anything. What the hell is a quad bruise?
It's never an ACL or something big.
Back.
It's always
I mean, he had the Achilles injury. He's had a calf, an abductor, and shoulder, knee, all in Los Angeles.
All of these things that you should be able to play through. It seems like, and he's just such a. He kind of reminds me of if you've ever been around track athletes, like sprinters. If one thing is not right, they're like, I can't go.
I can't go today.
And it'll be like, you're 98% good to go. And it's like, I can't go because they can't go 100% full. And if they can't run their fastest, they don't want to lose.
Yeah. Does it even matter if Brooklyn plays like they did last night? Who plays? I mean,
I
if
think
Brooklyn,
it's a one-man race.
I mean, Harden, Harden,
110 points.
Kyrie, and KD combined to give you 105 last night.
They could have beat many teams by themselves.
I mean,
3-on-5.
The way that the way that Steve Nash uses their minutes, administers their minutes, it comes to you in waves. I mean, if Harden and Durant on the floor, then it's Kyrie and Harden that are cutting you up. If it's not those two, it's Kyrie and KD. And for whatever reason,
then Joe Harris in the corner wide open, who doesn't miss.
What a
Blake
weapon!
Griffin.
I mean, Blake Griffin's playing. DeAndre Jordan was not
Steve
dressed
Nash's
out.
only job. That's his only job is
manage minutes.
Yeah, there's no game plan.
Which
You're
it
not
looks
putting a
like
game
they
plan.
go into the game as preordained.
Right.
I mean, it's
Right.
almost like at the 8-minute mark, we're using this. We're going to use this lineup. At the 4-minute mark, we're going to play back with this lineup. When we start the second quarter, we'll sit this guy here. I mean, it's. I was very speculative of Nash, and I don't know the job that goes into managing those personalities. That is his toughest. That's the toughest part of him.
I think that's the reason they brought him
showing
in.
up. That's
Talk about some personalities.
Showing up every day. That is his job title, or his biggest job task would be to keep these guys just
in check,
on the same page, motivated, in check, and happy. I mean, really.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're talking about some of the most insecure and fragile superstars that the NBA has ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, KD. I mean, Kyrie's an easy target for a guy like you because you saw him in Boston. And
KD's making burner accounts going back at fans.
And then James Harden plays himself out of Houston just by getting a ton of weight.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or putting on a fat suit. We won't know.
To see the warm up.
Yeah, this is going to be like the NBA frozen envelope. We won't know if James Harden actually wore a fat suit or not for 15 years.
And then Blake Griffin did the same thing. Oh, I can't.
Yeah,
I can't dunk anymore. Can't dunk anymore.
Yeah.
How smart of that was of Blake Griffin. Like, I'm in Detroit wasting away, dude. Let me just stop playing. Like, I'm just not going to play well.
And they've all made these. They've all made these power plays to get to Brooklyn. I mean, really. I mean, outside of Kyrie and
JJ
KD,
Redick tried to get there.
Yeah, Kyrie and KD signed there in free agency, and then everybody else has kind of bullied themselves to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it's a testament to what Steve Nash has done. You haven't really heard a lot about the coaching. It's all been about the personality.
They're ring chasing.
Without a doubt. But I'd imagine he'd probably be like a very good player's coach.
Because
the way he played basketball, the way he facilitated and was like kind of boys with everybody. He's probably fun to play for.
For sure. I mean, he comes out of that Phoenix era where they were the first team with D'Antoni to play like fun style of basketball.
Like
Without a doubt.
7-second fast paced back and forth.
Amari, and if all but for that rule that the NBA created, I think earlier that season, where if somebody came off the bench, that they were ultimately suspended for a game. Because, I mean, remember, Stoudemire came off the bench. Amari Stoudemire came off the bench in the Phoenix Suns, or not the Phoenix Suns San Antonio Spurs series. Was it Bruce Bowen?
Yeah, they threw Nash into the barrier.
Threw him into the scores table.
And then everybody
and Amari
got up.
Stoudemire ran at him, and he took like 2 steps onto the floor, and he was suspended for the next game. They probably win the championship that season if Stoudemire's not. If he's not suspended.
Kobe is either the deal to Spurs or Kobe every other year.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny as you bring that up, and that rule's in play because of the malice at the palace, and now you have your Celtics boys throwing bottles on the court, and that's why that rule's in place. It all comes full circle for Nash.
Well, I mean, dude, the fans being back in the arena. I mean,
they don't know how to handle themselves.
Yeah, they can't help it.
Last week we talked about spitting on somebody at MSG.
that's way too
Spit and
Your
popcorn, and now we
see what Tristan Thompson said about somebody? I'll follow you home. So MSG is spitting on somebody. Philly, they're throwing popcorn at somebody. What am I missing last week?
the spit, and then
It was just
Spit and popcorn last week, and then in Boston.
the water bottle.
represented.
And then John Morant's family was getting chastised like
In
the
Utah.
entire game. In Utah.
Oh, Utah's crazy.
I mean, Utah's nuts.
Been crazy. Will forever be crazy.
It will. I mean, they
And these
Russell.
people are supposed to be sober in Utah. They're supposed to they're all Mormon. They're not doing anything. You can't have
the elevation.
You can't have any sugar. You can't have Coca-Cola. You can't do any of this stuff. Maybe that's why they're all pent up,
Probably.
dude.
I mean, probably so.
The only thing they can do is verbally abuse people.
And it sounds like they're all like phobes.
Yeah.
Like they're like screaming just slurs at these guys. And they're like,
All my homo folks.
I'll kick your ass. You know what I mean? Like I will beat your ass, man. You know? And then your boys in Boston, bro. I mean, the cat throws the water bottle from about the 8th row, 10th row.
Had to be a high school quarterback.
Oh, Brady-esque.
Very much Brady-esque. Kind of leads him into it. And Kyrie just kind of grazes. Front. It didn't hit him.
Doesn't even come. Yeah.
Didn't hit him, but it kind of goes in front of his face. Banned for life.
Well, we were asking how that's done.
How do you enforce a ban for life?
I don't know how you do it. Not in an arena that lets 20,000 people in.
Hat and sunglasses and you're good.
I mean, hat and sunglasses and you're good, or you just enter in a different place. I mean,
just go get a different KG jersey and you're good.
Right.
Aside from that fake one with the big Chinese stitching.
And you got to imagine in towns like Philadelphia and Boston, people thrown out of the arena for doing things to the opposing teams of like throwing stuff on them would probably be revered as heroes.
Oh, yeah, he goes straight to the pub, dude, and gets a free beer. Like, was that you in the Gauntlet jersey? Have a seat.
The fake one.
Yeah.
You drink for free tonight.
Yes, forever.
I mean, that'd be a great story. Like, want to come to the Celtics game with me? No, like, I can't. I'm physically banned from there because I threw a water bottle at Kyrie.
Like,
you're
nah,
cool.
bro, load up. Yeah. We're going to get you in. And
it seems like Jack would have the answer. He works at a bar, so that's easy to have somebody that's banned for life, I'd imagine. You're like, you have a picture of the guy.
No. It's when you get banned from a bar, we scan your ID and then we just press ban. So if you ever scan it again,
it comes up. Oh, you're like a wanted poster.
How easy in 2021 just to get canceled,
right?
I mean, like,
yeah. Is that what do they do now? Then, if you can't do that, they don't take your ID when you go into a basketball game.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a
I guess if he's a season ticket holder,
yeah.
You could ban somebody for life. Like you can, you'll never allow them that name or that social security number or whatever, however you identify somebody, to purchase a ticket again inside of your ticket office. But if somebody hands you a ticket and says, "Come to the game with me," I don't see how you could stop that. I mean, I don't see how you could stop that in an arena where even if you did notify, how many ticket takers are there at a professional sports arena? I mean, let's just be conservative
25.
and say, I was going to say be conservative and say 20. I mean, in all reality, there's probably 50.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In some
like one at
big
two
areas.
at each gate.
Yeah.
Multiple at each gate.
I mean,
and
you're asking all these people to look and identify one person that could just throw on some sunglasses or a hat and just sneak in.
Cut his hair.
Exactly.
Right.
Most typical looking guy too.
Oh, so Boston.
Right.
So Boston, bro.
So Boston.
I think I have a cousin that looks like you.
Did you see when the cops were standing him up? He was trying to take a selfie.
Yeah,
he
didn't care at all.
And the
dude.
guy was like knocking the phone out of his hand.
It's like, whatever. Those people, man, unbelievable up in
But
Boston.
people forget Kyrie stomped on the logo.
Before the game.
Yeah.
No.
It was after the game.
after the
Right
game.
after the game.
Are you watching City on the Hill? I cannot believe. So it's about Boston in the 90s.
Oh, really?
And Kevin Bacon is the lead actor. And it was made, it's present day. I mean, it's happening right now. And you rarely see things being produced right now that are, politically incorrect. I mean, and this thing is obviously it being made in Boston. I don't know how you could make something in Boston without it being
Right, you got to capture the area.
incorrect.
Yeah.
But Kevin Bacon and this and this cast, I mean, dude, I'm enthralled in this show. I mean, I caught
breed people from Boston,
and that's what I'm saying. Like that's what I would see. First off, I would see how Kyrie would hate the environment. Then I would also see, if you were a fan and from Boston, how you could be just so passionate and so in it. You know what I mean? It's just an area that sucks you in, and City on the Hill describes that, it just being in the area.
How did Matt Damon and Ben Affleck miss out on this?
They're the producers.
Okay, I was getting ready to say that. That's right all over it. Yeah.
They're the producers.
Or Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah,
I'm sure he
exactly.
wants a cut too.
They're all around there. If you're not watching City on the Hill and you're looking for
HBO
something in
Max.
2021, Showtime.
Showtime.
If you're looking for something in 2021 that is just not PC, kind of an old style of viewing, and Kevin Bacon is phenomenal. I mean, I'm not the Kevin Bacon critic. You know what I mean? I don't know a lot of his work, but I know that I've seen him before in things like A Few Good Men and Footloose.
And Tremors?
He's phenomenal. Well, I think he's everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's the joke in Hollywood,
the 6
right?
degrees of
The
Kevin
6
Bacon.
degrees of Kevin Bacon. Yeah, I can see where Boston is nuts just by watching that series. So what's tonight? Who do we have tonight?
Oh, you got Sixers.
Yeah, you got
Sixers, Wizards.
Philly and
over.
Washington. That's a 3-0 right now with Philly up.
Give me 1 second.
Ben Simmons, would he start off 0 for 9?
0 for 9 from the line. NBA
ahead,
record.
Benny.
Ben
boy,
Simmons.
Benny. Oh, boy,
LSU
Benny.
alumni, baby.
That's the loves to shoot.
We don't claim him.
And then Utah Memphis tonight, which is kind of a sneaky good series. 2-1.
It's been an awesome
Very good series.
How does
2-1.
that feel? I mean, you
Utah up.
see John Morant battling with the 1 seed, and then
Well,
the Pels are home.
Scoring 40 points, 9 assists, and
John Morant and the Grizzlies are what the Pelicans are supposed to look like.
That should be exactly.
I mean, that's what
well, they made the right coaching hire. They got a young guy for a young team.
they did.
5.5 point spread at Memphis. Is the grindhouse popping? Is it full?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. 5.5 point Utah.
Yeah, they're giving up 5.5.
Wow.
Right on that line, by that half point, get it to 6.
In Memphis,
In Memphis.
Grizz is the play, right?
I'm going Jazz.
I don't know. If the Jazz shoot
I mean,
it the way they
feels like the Grizz or a
Sneaky.
sucker.
Ryder Mitchell's back. They're able to steal.
Is he hurt or is he not?
He's a little banged up.
He
He's
does
fine.
the grimace.
Yeah.
And this is a take I heard on the way over here. I was listening to the radio, Bill Simmons, but they're like, "Do you think this is because of the Last Dance?" After watching MJ like struggle through with the flu game, they all want their moment. They all want their like. This looks harder.
Wow.
This looks harder than it actually is.
Yeah, wow.
Maybe.
My favorite moment
Yeah.
of player
Because a
going.
lot of those cats probably didn't see it. You know, they're all
Right.
like 22, 23 years old, and they missed it.
It's like Paul
So-
Pierce
just gonna
wheelchair to the.
But you said it,
That's
Dave
just
John.
because,
You
that's
said
because he
he's
shit his
bathroom.
pants. Yeah.
Right.
Which is the only way. How can you get me in a place where nobody can see my white uniform where there's shit stains in it? Put me in a
Wheelchair.
seat.
I thought he had to take a dub.
No, he did when he went down.
Lamar Jackson did the same thing
Yeah.
against the Browns. In
Yeah, where he limped in
that Monday
in the
night
Monday
game.
night game.
Yeah, not bad play.
I mean, you would think that's gotta happen more than we would know. I mean, now in today's age, where cameras on everything and everybody, you catch it probably more. But I mean, you don't think Brett Favre ever shaded off and went and took a shit during a game?
Oh, without a doubt.
I mean,
Manny Ramirez did it. He opened up the Green Monster and pissed in it.
yeah.
I mean, like,
That's Manny being Manny.
Exactly.
Dude, how lucky is he to be able to have that title? Like, I can kind of do whatever I want. He was listening.
and
he's-
kind of skirted by in the steroid scene.
Yeah.
and a user.
And he got to come back.
I mean, like, yeah. I mean,
And people still-
and trying to make a comeback now.
Yeah.
Like, it's
That's just Manny
Manny.
being
Yeah,
Manny. Of course,
right,
get some steroids.
Yeah, bring him in.
He used to the old Oakleys. They had like the earpods in them on your sunglasses, and he would wear those during the game. And I was just like, oh, dude, I'm just listening to some music, man. Baseball's a long game. They're like, the manager had no idea. He's like, are you kidding me, dude? Like, you're not even paying attention.
So good.
So good.
Great read on the ball. Can't even hear the crack of the
Yeah,
bat.
just still is that good. I mean, remember he robbed a home run and high-fived a fan. And
That's
threw
when
him
they
out
were
in-
done with him.
Yeah,
That's when they traded him.
unreal.
Legendary.
All right, so the NBA playoffs tonight, 11 a.m. The selection committee will make their announcement here on LSU's fate, what happens there. So make sure you're watching there. We'll update on social media what goes on. Remember, we're brought to you by Falaya Real Estate. Get in touch with Barrett Blondo and the crew over at Falaya. Call Barrett this morning at 939-6153. It's a 225 area code, 939-6153. Everything has changed. Isn't it time technology has made buying and selling a house easier and a whole lot cheaper? Over at Falaya, they have virtual tours. You can download the app by just visiting the Google App Store, the Apple App Store, online at falaya.com. Get in touch with Barrett Blondo at falaya.com today. We will close out how we started off here and want to wish everybody a happy Memorial Day and a great big salute, which this day always represents the men and women that died serving us and serving our country. So anybody out there that has served, obviously, and given up the biggest sacrifice for our freedom, we want to make sure and salute and say happy Memorial Day. I think a lot of times we forget some of these vacations that give us long weekends and gives us opportunities to get down to the beach and celebrate. But especially if there's anybody close to you that has died in action in defending our country, we want to make sure and remember here on Memorial Day and want to salute all of those out there that continue to serve us and make the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom. So enjoy your day. LSU going to be in the newswire a lot here over the next couple of days, and obviously we will be covering it for you here on the Jordy Culotta Show. We'll continue to dive into some of these these offseason storylines for LSU football. Some good footage coming out over the weekend of Jack Besh and Max Johnson working out together.
Dude, Max sneaky speed. I've never seen him really open up like that.
And the athlete that Jack Besh is, I mean, the ball he throws to Max Johnson, I mean, he just drops it in the bucket. Everything this cat touches turns. I mean, if you've seen his basketball highlights, he's yamming on people's head. His early track highlights are him just blazing by people. Obviously, his football highlights, but, I mean, I love the best athlete on the field just being somewhere, right? The Michael Claytons, Corey Websters, guys like Brandon Jacobs was talking about, Marcus Spears of the world, where they just, you put the ball in their hand and something special happens. Jack Besh feels like that dude. I mean, he really, I know that there are stars all over this class, and I've talked about Besh at nauseum, and we've had him on this show, and we've interviewed him, and we're not playing favorites, really. I mean, just some of the access. I know his uncle Blaine, I worked with him closely, and just paid attention to him over the last couple of years. I think he's got this Josh Reed type quality to him once he gets on campus, where everybody knows he's going to be a part of the game plan, but you really cannot stop him. And not to say he's going to be some freshman game-changing player. I just think the guy is going to make an impact from the day that he steps on campus, and that will gradually grow and him become, you know, just a big-time player. And if you're paying attention, he's just a very natural athlete. I mean, he just picks up a football on this piece of social media over the weekend and throws
50 yards?
50, I was going to say 45, 50 yards. I mean, and he just drops it into the bucket of Max Johnson. And look, I mean, on the ancillary, on kind of the side piece of that is that Max Johnson is flying down the sidelines. I mean, like, fly. If we have this, we have the clip.
I can do it in the break.
Let's find the clip and let's put it up on our social media just so everybody sees it.
Yes.
And references what we're talking about, because I hate to talk about people like, huh? What are you talking? There was a piece of video that came out over the weekend of these two guys. Obviously, they're working out and they're throwing, they're working on their timing and stuff. And either during the break or during the, after the workout had wrapped up, they're kind of having some fun. And Besh just picks a football up, and Johnson just runs a go route, and Besh just takes 2 steps back and just uncorks one into the air and drops it into the bucket of Max Johnson, cruising. I mean, he is. Now, they don't have any pads on. They just got shorts, no shirt. They're working out in the heat of the summer. But, LSU's quarterback and an incoming freshman wide receiver, you can see the skill. I mean, they're there. And it was good stuff. So enjoy your Monday. Enjoy your Memorial Day. Stay safe out there. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning. If there's anything to update here today, we may jump on and put something out. But we anticipate LSU getting in. Really, if anything would spur us to do something else today, it would probably be if they didn't get in, because I think it would be very surprising if they didn't get in.
Jack Besh has to be all-time Memorial Day body. Like,
for
he's
sure.
probably going to go out there and slaughter.
I mean,
today.
no shirt.
No shirt.
This guy's not putting a shirt on until November.
He's got 18 abs.
Yeah, I mean, I would roll the jersey up.
Yes.
No shirt by the pool. No shirt
Shades.
to class.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I'm just wearing shorts, flip flops, and shades.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Ever have a shirt?
He's going to crush today.
No, I don't.
You got a problem with it?
Not at all. I'll sit up front
yeah,
too.
it's at your mom's house.
That's right.
Wait, one more thing. Do you think John Brady regrets running those guys off the basketball team? Because that would have been an all-timer. Corey Webster, Michael Clayton, Marcus Spears.
And they needed guys, too.
Done some lobs.
I mean, just let those guys go run.
Yeah. Shouldn't have coached them like basketball players.
No, let them kind of come in and show up.
They're going to play 8 to 12 minutes a night anyway. You know what I mean?
Put them all on the floor at the same time.
But Brady he wasn't that guy then. He wasn't that guy.
He would do it now.
Yes. He would absolutely do it now. We could ask him that.
Yeah.
But he will also tell you how good of players those cats were, because he did go scout them in high school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to know who you're getting. I mean, Corey Webster. Bro. Corey Webster, and one of my best friends in high school, Courtney Trask, who was the starting point guard at Memphis for 3 years in 99, 2000, and 01, and was the Sun Belt Freshman of the Year for Johnny Jones, because at Memphis in 99, Johnny Jones was the bench coach, and they fired the head coach, and they elevated Johnny Jones to the interim. And Jones, one of his first moves was he made Courtney Trask his point guard. Courtney graduated from Parkview in 1999 with me, and he was the point guard on those Parkview 3 state championship runs with Robert Jupiter, Sean Johnson, Jermaine Williams, who went on to play at LSU, Marcus Ledoux played at LSU, transferred out, and what was I lost my train of thought.
John Brady scouted those cats.
John Brady scouted them, and Corey Webster came to Parkview our senior year, and it was Courtney Trask versus Corey Webster. And Corey Webster was kind of like known as the football player.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like he was the quarterback, he was the defensive back, he was the guy. And Courtney Trask was the basketball player in the city. I mean, he was. And Courtney's a dog. You know what I mean? And I've told his story, and I love Courtney. He's my brother. I still talk to him to this day. I love you, CT. But we know it. Webster ate him up that night.
Oh, no.
I mean, like, I couldn't believe it. Just because I was like, no, Courtney's going to kick his ass. You know what I mean? He's the basketball player.
He's the basketball guy, yeah. You got Corey Webster coming off the football field.
And he was one of those cats where when the ball would get through the net, he'd be in a defensive stance.
Yeah,
he'd pick you up for 94 feet, and he was
just playing DB.
He was sliding his feet, and he was on your body, and he was such a smart player. Courtney was left-handed, and he made Courtney go right. Courtney could go right all night. He could go right, but he was still a little awkward on it. You know what I mean? I just want to be able to get to it for 2 dribbles so I can get it right back. And he would never let him get to his left. And it was a clinic. You know what I mean? It was a defensive clinic. He bottled him. And Brady was sitting front row that night. And I didn't know Coach like I knew, like I grew to know him. But I still, I'd be like, I remember seeing you there. He'd be like, that damn Corey Webster boy. Corey Webster's something nice. I mean, like when Saban came over and talked to him, like, hey, look, Clayton Spears and Webster want to come out. I don't want them to do it, but here's the deal. I think Saban was probably like, run them off. You know what I mean? Like, run them.
You can't have them.
Just run them into the ground. I don't want to tell them no, but you run them off because they're not playing. You know what I mean?
This one falls on you guys.
They're the nucleus of our national championship run next year, and you can't have them. Yeah. But I don't want to tell them no because I told them yes in recruiting, but you make it miserable for them.
Remember that dinner we went to when you said you'd run them off? Like,
exactly.
Now's the time. Like,
exactly. So have a great day. Happy Memorial Day to everybody out there. Appreciate the crew for stopping in this morning. We'll be on social media. We'll have that video clip on social media
absolutely.
as well.
Yes, sir.
And everybody, thank you for interacting with us this morning. Make sure, shout out to Go Chevrolet. If you're shopping a car today, today's a great day to shop them. Get to LaPlace. Get to the used car lot on Florida Boulevard for Go Express Auto Sales. Thanks to all of our sponsorship. Johnson Spillers, Go Chevrolet, Falaya, Metropolitan Health Group, Elevate Treatment Center, RMB Builders, Hub International Insurance, Phil's Oyster Bar, Harper's Haberdashery, Advana Clean, Nevadis, Red Stick Sports, Majestic Coffee, all of the supporters here. Happy Memorial Day from all of us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning.